Get your stinking rat out. It's late night large.
Welcome to a late night large that stuck it in the throes of passion, then pulled it back out. Stuck it back in, pulled it out again, repeated a few dozen times until at last the menu appeared with the Super Mario Brothers theme playing. Hurling homemade napalm at Bowser is me, Aaron Bliss, while in another castle befouling the princess's latrine is Mike Large. How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, great. Another day, another dollar.
Mike's had a particularly hard night at work, so give him all the abuse you like in the comments below.
Do it. Just don't fucking care anymore.
Well, you're not the only one, Mike, because another person who seemingly doesn't give a fuck about anyone or anything is the Prime Minister, because this week's lockdown large, see, you roll your eyes and well might you, because are we really talking about this twat again? Yes, the clown himself has really outdone himself in the last week, and almost all of it relates to lockdown and COVID. So you'll be happy to know it's not just bashing on the Prime Minister for no particular reason other than some kind of axe to grind. Mike, there's a lot to go through. So let's start with something a little bit personal. So other than we know you've had a hard time at work today, any other more pleasant incidents this week in the modified lockdown? You done nothing at all?
No, I played golf.
Oh, there you go. How'd you do?
I played.
How many balls did you lose?
Oh, I was there.
Well done, Mike. You get a ribbon for taking part. Well done. Well done, you. Yeah, it's been lovely weather this week, hasn't it? Beautiful sunshine, but not too warm. Nice cool nights. I wish it could be like this all the time, to be fair, but the way we're heading, 50 years, the planet could be uninhabitable, so we've got to enjoy these times while we can. I've just generally been working on some more pics tonight again. Enjoying.
Did you post the pics art that you said you would in the comments of the previous video? Because I didn't see it in there.
No, I don't remember doing it. No,
I don't remember you doing it either. So you made a promise to the fans and you let them down.
I know
you were bollocks, and you know what you did wrong.
Well, okay, we'll discuss this again at the end of the show, Mike, if you like. I'm sorry for that, whatever I seem to have done. So apologies, everyone. In terms of it's been quite a pleasant week, and I got to see the missus on Friday. Went a nice walk while the sun went down. So that was sweet.
Aww.
So yeah, and obviously people are flying again, so I'm relatively busy at work helping people out. So yeah, it's all it's not been too bad. But in terms of what's been happening in the wider country at large, wow, boy howdy, Mike. Do you remember when we were chatting about the good times? What, a year ago is it? Well, okay, not quite a year ago. When we were talking about the Barnard Castle shit and Dominic Cummings taking the piss, these kind of things. And remember we said at the time, we debated at length, I believe, like, what has he got on Johnson? Because I think we both came to the conclusion he's got to have some serious dirt on him. Because why would you take that much flack to keep him in position? Turns out we were completely right. Because the last week, oh my God, the shit has royally hit the fan this week. Because, as was heavily predicted, Johnson, despite us calling him in the past a smart man, smart in the sense that he knows how to protect himself and get himself ahead in his career, actually does seem to take a lot of things for granted. And one of the things he took for granted was the fact that Cummings was his BFF forever, because he ended up sticking the knife in Cummings by, I believe it was something about, there was a leak that upset what's his missus's name? Carrie? Upset Carrie in a way or something. And anyway,
Yeah.
Johnson ended up accusing Cummings, indirectly or directly, of leaking information to the press, leaking story. It was the Dyson story, wasn't it? So I don't know whether we covered that last week, but actual text messages were exposed showing that Johnson was, to be honest, he was just dropping his trousers for everyone. So, you know, it wasn't as if he was a serious politician who was going, oh, James, I don't know, we'll see what we can do. It was like, oh, of course, Jimbo, we'll sort everything out. You know me, with no tax. Rah. So the text showed that Johnson was more than willing to help Dyson evade tax effectively if he only made ventilators for the COVID crisis and the NHS hospitals, etc. The problem, of course, was that Dyson ended up making the square root of fuck all for the NHS, and there were actual companies, British companies, who produced ventilators as a profession, who didn't get a call from the Prime Minister or the government, didn't get any calls returned, presumably because they weren't Brexit supporters and they didn't donate to the Conservative Party. So they're basically two crimes in one there. So Johnson looking to help a crony with a tax wheeze, but also, while he did so, costing people's lives by allowing a ventilator shortage to affect the response to the pandemic. Anyway, Mike, I'm going to rattle through these quick so we can get debating them, because one at a time is probably going to take too long. So these are the scandals that have come out this week. So other than the Dyson scandal, which was the start of all this, there's been a rumor. By the way, sorry, the Dyson scandal was the catalyst, because now, thanks to Cummings, a lot of these other things have now come out and are making headlines in the national newspapers.
Yeah.
So one of the scandals was news that Boris Johnson had stopped an inquiry into the leaking of details of the second lockdown, as in who might have leaked details early, and he stopped it because a friend of Carrie's might have been implicated. So that was number one scandal. Number two scandal after the Dyson tax debacle. Number three scandal we mentioned briefly, we touched upon in Lockdown Large Extra Time, which was the mysterious meeting with Ed Woodward, who was the executive vice chairman, luckily now he's resigned, the snake, but he was the executive vice chairman at Manchester United until very recently, or rather is serving out his notice now. At the time, it was about 2 days, I believe, a day or two prior to the announcement of the European Super League that Manchester United, of course, said that they'd signed up to. So there's a huge question marks about what exactly was said in that meeting between Johnson and Woodward, particularly knowing that after the Super League announcement, Johnson came out all guns blazing, saying he would do anything to prevent this from happening. So that was scandal number three. Sorry, I haven't finished yet. I'm only halfway through. Scandal number four, Dominic Grieve, who you might remember used to be, the long time ago now, was the Conservative Party's Attorney General, and then later criticised Johnson at length and criticised Brexit and got kicked out of the party by Johnson, blah, 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 blah. He recently made a comment jumping on board a lot of other things that ministers who'd worked with Johnson had said about him, and described him brilliantly as a vacuum of integrity. So that was scandal number four. Scandal number five, which is a big one because the opposition party, the Labour Party, are demanding an inquest into it very, very heavily, which is Johnson somehow managed to magic up 60 grand odd to refurbish the flat in Downing Street, and then tried to work his way around having to pay for it himself by trying to get Tory donors to do it up for him without declaring it as a proper payment. So basically crooked as fuck. So that was scandal number five. And you think all of those are bad enough, and most of them would have been enough to sink a lot of leaders' careers. But this one, many have argued that a lot of the things that he gets away with are things that people already know about him. Cheated on his cancer-stricken wife? Yeah, that's just Boris. Cheated on Carrie and gave taxpayer money to his other mistress. Yeah, it's just Boris. Lied about Brexit. Oh, well, he lies about everything. But the one thing that may sink him is being genuinely contemptuous and insensitive to suffering of a lot of people. And he is reported to have made a comment which has reached the front pages of the Daily Mail of all newspapers, where it's reported that he said something along the lines of, when he had to, after the second lockdown, I believe, he said he was said to have said to whoever, I don't know if this was to cabinet or to just a few advisors, he was supposed to have said, no more fucking lockdowns, the bodies can pile up thousands high, and I would rather that than have a third lockdown. Now, do we think he could have said that? Of course he fucking could. Do we think he definitely said that? Well, we can't say that for certain. Mike, do you want to start picking your way through some of those scandals? Or if you think any of them are completely irrelevant to COVID and the pandemic?
Firstly, I liked your very quick just putting them out there. Jesus. But no, listen, let's start with the only one I can actually remember, which is the last thing you said. And no, you didn't fucking say that. And listen, I know. No.
Well, you think he's too moral to have said something like that? This is the guy.
No, I just don't think he's stupid enough to say something like that, even if he actually thought it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's the most convincing explanation. I'm still coming down on the side if he's probably 80% likely to have said it.
Even if he thought it, no, I'm not buying it.
Okay, remember this was the Prime Minister who made a joke about Operation Last Gasp when he was told about the potential ventilator shortage. That convinced you anymore? No,
look, it didn't happen.
So your opinion, you don't think he said that?
No.
Well, you think D Cummings is lying about it, do you, Big Dom?
Well, they're not exactly bezies at the moment anymore, are they?
It's more a question of which liar lied the most. So you think in this case, Big Dom was the lyingest of the liars?
I mean, generally, as a rule, you're a fool if you believe either. So
that's the problem, though. One of them must be telling the truth, surely. Either he did it or he didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. One of them must be telling the truth, and what's the most feasible? That he didn't say it. So
you think that's more feasible?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I don't think it.
I think
even if he thought it, why would he say something like that?
Mike, can I introduce you to Boris Johnson, who has described black people as pickaninnies of watermelon smiles, talked about letterboxes, recited a Rudyard Kipling poem when he was in Burma.
All right. Yeah, he's a cunt. I get it. Cool. But
no. That wasn't to say he was a cunt, although he is. What that was to say was he doesn't know when to mind his mouth.
Yeah. So right, let's get into the detail then.
Okay.
When's he supposed to have said this?
When did he say it? I don't think the newspapers even stated it. They just, in fact, I don't think they even. I'm not sure that they even gave much context. So
right, so they don't know where, when, who was there.
No, it's a fair point. This is what I'm saying. So just because he's a cunt and a liar does not mean that he absolutely categorically said this. We can't just believe anything just because someone's a shitty character. So I totally agree with you. I don't think we can 100% say he definitely said it. It's kind of similar to the David Cameron thing, isn't it? We can't 100% definitely say he put his penis in that dead pig's head.
No, we can.
But yeah, I say he did it because it adds up to what I think of his character. I think it's completely in character for how he is. And that's why I'm 80% inclined to agree that Boris Johnson did say this. But if you don't think he did, that's also legitimate.
It's too easy. It's too easy, isn't it? It's too easy to say, oh, listen, listen to this scandalous thing that Bojo said.
Okay, let me ask you.
He's got form. It must be true. No.
This is coming from a man who's been accused of many people of things based on his character. I can see why you're just defending someone who's on the same page as you.
Me and Bojo, mate, were like that.
Yeah, sorry, that's a bit harsh. You're not quite that bad. Only the womanizing, but and the corruption and anyway. No, Mike. Okay, let me ask you this: if it was proven he said it, and when I say proven, we're not going to get a recording of it, but if we can get at least one witness to confirm they heard him say it, one witness who was actually, which would be enough. Do you think he has to resign if he's made that comment?
I think it depends who. Look, listen. If he said it, yes. Okay. But then you want to talk about proof. What constitutes proof in your mind is so far what you've heard so far is enough proof for you. So
it's not at all. No, Mike.
Well, it is because you're like, yeah, he said it. Yeah, he said it. Yeah, he said it. He said it. Your opinion is that he said it. So you don't need any more.
No. What I said was, my feeling is about 80% that he probably said it. I did not categorically say. My opinion is he's more likely to have said it than not.
No, yeah. So all you're doing is recognizing that it's not fact, but in your mind, he still said it. So you don't need any more proof. So who is this witness?
Proof. I do need proof, Mike. I'm not a Tory. I'm not going to condemn someone before I've heard the evidence.
What I'm saying is, like, let's just see if they get some proof. Let's see what shape that proof comes in. Right. Then we'll make a decision on it. Do I think it's a fucking ridiculous thing to say? Yes. Has he said ridiculous things in the past? Also, yes. Is he a bit of a Look, listen.
You're struggling.
We know what he is. Right? We know what he's done wrong.
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. Absolutely fucking everything. Yeah.
And at times he's not given us enough. But I think
the real question, Mike.
But what I'm saying is, there's plenty of other things to dig him out on at the moment.
Yes, that's true.
Let's not listen too much to hearsay.
Okay, let's work our way down the list then, Mike.
Move on from that one. That one's covered off. Hit me. What was the next one?
What's the comment on the flat refurbishment? Because this sounds dodgy as fuck. So this is where he's done £60,000 of renovations to Downing Street flat, and he's tried to weasel his way into getting other people to pay for it, but not run it through the proper channels of public accountability.
Right. So on that, firstly, how do we know that that's true?
What do you mean, how do we know it's true?
How do we know it's true?
Well, where the sources are from.
Yeah.
Well, no, but Mike, this is how things work.
Oh no, I'm not saying
you don't
prove it's true. I'm saying, where did that come from?
Oh, okay, we'll phrase it that way. Where are the sources for this? Okay, so the sources for this flat refurbishment story, where did I see it? Was this Dominic Cummings again? This has been brewing for a while, I think. Do you know, I don't remember where it came from, but it was in all kinds of newspapers. So,
yeah, it's not, I don't think this is new, is it?
No, it's not. It's been under the surface for a while, but it's come to a head with this Cummings stuff. And now,
I think, listen, that is if it's true, it's a blatant attempted abuse of power. It's crooked in every way, in every sense of the word. Shameful as well. Actually just pretty fucking embarrassing if it is the case. But again, did it happen?
Well, that's why I guess the Labour Party are demanding an inquiry into it. So,
and rightly so. Rightly so. Absolutely,
there should be an inquiry.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. There should be an inquiry. And
okay, so asking you the same question, Mike. If the inquiry finds it, the thing is, the way that the story is framed is that Johnson eventually coughed up the money himself, but that wasn't the point. The point was he was trying every trick in the book to get around paying the money himself. So if it's proven that he was pushing these avenues to have it paid for, do you think that's a case for him resigning?
no.
Okay. Next scandal. Let's say him personally stopping an inquiry into leaking of information about the second lockdown early because a friend of his girlfriend's might have been implicated as the leaker.
I'm torn on this one, and I mean, I'll tell you why.
Go on.
Why was there an inquiry?
That's a good question. I believe. I mean, I'm sure the answer they'll want to give is that it can affect public safety if information leaks too early, without full context, etc., etc.
Fair enough. Who called for the inquiry?
I think it was the Tory party themselves, wasn't it?
I imagine. So, in my head, Bojo is where that's come from. So, where the fuck has this leak come from? This is ridiculous. We can't have that inquiry. We need to find out where this leak has come from, and we need to plug it quickly. And to be fair, anyone in that position would do exactly the same thing. Let's find out where this leak's come from, even if it's not, regardless of what it is. You don't want anyone. You or I wouldn't want leaks from, if we were in that position. Yeah. So, brilliant. Fair enough. Find out. Once you've started that ball rolling, though, once you've said, well, no, we need an inquiry into this. We need to find out where this leak has come from, and we need to take action because it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree, with any of that so far. If he has actually stopped that inquiry because he doesn't like what it was looking like it was going to prove or show, I mean, that's pretty embarrassing, isn't it? Basically, so it's supposed to be from a friend of his missus.
Girlfriend.
Right. So that's embarrassing enough as it is. So perhaps, perhaps about it. He's obviously ended that inquiry to say what he can of his own blushes, but in doing so, has told us all we need to know.
Yeah, no, it is. It is definitely. It's like you say, if you've launched an inquiry into yourself, and then just before it's sort of due to announce findings, I think the inquiry's gone as far as it can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Basically, what you're saying is, oh shit. Nope. Let's. Fine. Yeah, we did our due diligence. We found it out, but don't ask us any more questions. It's fine.
I think there's an old saying, isn't there, about that comes from government that says never launch an inquiry into something you don't already know the answer to. So, yeah, I think it might very well been of that. I mean, I don't need to ask the question. I mean, that's staggeringly poor and complete lack of integrity. But I mean, I wouldn't call that a case for resigning as Prime Minister. So no. I think we can agree that that's not a resignation matter. What about this Ed Woodward meeting? What would you say about that? Again, we're speculating, Mike, but if it's discovered that he met with Ed Woodward, and there's any indication, and don't get me wrong, I don't think there will be, because I think Ed Woodward is a worm. He will never admit to it because he's on the way out anyway. But if by some miracle Woodward found a conscience and a spine to say, yes, of course, me and the Prime Minister talked about it. In fact, he was quite positive about the proposals. If it's proven that Johnson gave him the impression that he was supportive of the Super League, only to turn around a couple of days later and effectively throw Woodward under the bus, is that a resignation matter?
I don't know how that could ever be proven, especially after he came out and condemned it publicly.
Well, the only way it could be proved is if Woodward confirms that was what was said. And
right. So if Ed Woodward turns around and says,
yeah,
"Oh no, Boris said he support it,"
no, I
agree.
agree. It's the likelihood is not even slim to nil. It's probably sub-zero. But if there was a way that Woodward, I don't know, thought, fuck this, I'm on my way out of the country, I'm going to spread shit on the walls. If he literally came out and said, we had this conversation, the Prime Minister told me this, I think he misled me because a couple of days later he said it was an awful idea and he was going to legislate against it. Do you think that that is a resignation matter for Boris Johnson? And are you thinking of it in the context of the fact that he's lied to so many people in the past?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I mean, I also read somewhere that apparently Ed Woodward only had a day's notice about the Super League. As in, he only knew the day before it was announced.
That sounds very fishy to me, but okay.
It sounds very fishy to me, but what doesn't sound fishy about any of this?
No, I know. It's dodgy as fuck. It really is crooked. But I agree. I think that's very weak. We can't really determine anything, and there's not much hope of us ever getting a clear answer about that. So that's not going to be a resignation matter. The Dyson tax debacle, do you think that should cause trouble for Johnson, knowing that he was toadying up to a famous tax exile?
I think you need to put your opinion of James Dyson to one side. I think that Hang
on. I only described him as a tax exile. I didn't call him a cunt or anything.
It's the same thing.
He is a tax exile. That's just a fact, though. He operates in Singapore because he didn't want to pay our tax rates.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No. Listen. Yeah, I get that. I think the problem here is that when conversations like that are had,
yeah,
it has to be regulated, right? Documented in some way, shape, or form. It has to be, and it hasn't, or it wasn't. That's a problem. That shows just disregard for the way things should be done. However, if he turns around and says, well, hang on, mitigating circumstances, global pandemic, doing what I need to do, for me, fair enough. Because that might be a barefaced fucking lie, but at the same time, if he didn't take action that could have, and obviously it came to fuck all, but if he didn't take action that could have saved lives and cited like, oh no, I have to do things in a certain way, we go, no, fucking do what you need to do. Yeah. If it was you or me there, I'd say, no, do the fucking right thing. Fuck it. Fuck everything else. People's lives are more important. Do what you need to do and face the backlash. Be a man. Step up. Do what you need to do. Now, I'm not suggesting that he's made some sort of heroic action here. I'm not saying that, but...
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Mike, is you have to then put that in context. You saying that, very good devil's advocate job, and that's exactly the excuse that Johnson's come out with. But the argument is there were companies in the UK who already produce ventilators, knew how to do it, who were not contacted by the government.
Well, there are checks and balances in place. Do I think there should be circumstances whereby, you can get around them? Well, if there are going to be any, a global pandemic has to tick that box. You know, there has to be one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah.
So I've also, you know, again, there's different kind of different things come out or at different times. I've also seen that actually all James Dyson was saying is, if I bring my people over here, you know, can they avoid extra tax while they're working on ventilators? I mean,
well, while people who work in the NHS are paying full rates of tax.
Yeah, but again, like, I know you, in a way, you dancing with the devil. Do you sell your soul for the greater good or whatever? If James Dyson had brought his best people over here and manufactured these groundbreaking ventilators and in number, and it made some significant impact and saved significant lives, I don't think a single person would have a problem with it. I know what you're going to say is that didn't happen.
Yeah. Now, don't get me. You know,
if that's what Boris is sold, if he's been sold on this as an opportunity, even a chance for that to happen.
Plausible deniability. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Okay, fair enough. You're making a good devil's advocate job of this, Mike. And what about that final comment from the former Attorney General who described Johnson as a vacuum of integrity?
Now, I like it.
I mean, yeah, it's very apt. Do you think that will have any influence? Because obviously Dominic Grieve, I think, still plays well with a significant section of the Tory electorate. Do you think a few of them will look at that and go and have second thoughts about Boris Johnson, or do you think they'll go, "Oh, he's just got sour grapes"?
I don't think he's going to hold as much weight as you think it might.
No, okay. It was a brilliant description though.
Yeah.
Vacuum of integrity. I mean, at this point, it does really seem like Johnson is just like, you know, he's almost like George of the Jungle, you know, where George of the Jungle kind of comes into the modern world and he's just like, he doesn't know what to do, so he's just going nuts, doing whatever his impulses guide him to do. That just seems to be what Johnson does. He staggers from one thing to another. How can I fill my pockets? How can I get my end away? How can I get my own back on this person? How can I leak this story to make me look good? I mean, this is a period really unparalleled. You know, I don't mean to keep making the most of this, but this is not normal. Like, to have a prime minister be this flagrantly corrupt and incompetent. Anyway, it's just incredible. And so the last thing, Mike, is not to do with the character assassination of our already character assassinated prime minister. This is a big one, right? This is a serious story. So do you remember we talked last week about Red India, the red alert in India, and how really, really bad, dire their COVID situation was getting? You know, they're on the brink of their healthcare system collapsing. And, you know, in case anyone, because it's on the other side of the world, remember India has the second largest population in the entire world. We're talking about, what, 1.2 billion people. So it is a really big deal, this shit that's going down in India. Now, India has a right-wing tosser of a president, prime minister, I forget, Modi, who, you know, again, like every other right-wing demagogue, has failed miserably on this. But the big story I wanted to pick up, Mike, that I've been reading more and more about, is part of the reason India is in such dire straits is because it doesn't have access to vaccines. Now, part of the reason for that is that the vaccine patents have not been made available. I don't know how much you know about the patent system. Do you know anything about the patent system? Effectively, well, you know what a patent is, isn't it? It's a trademark for a product idea. So, you know, big pharma, they love their patents. They're not out there to save the world. They're out there to get as many patents as possible so they can sell their drugs at higher and higher prices. And what patents do is mean that you cannot manufacture an identical product and sell it without paying the patent costs to the original manufacturer. I'm not sure how it works with generic drugs, whether those patents expired or were given away or whatever, you know, so the fact we can buy paracetamol at like 16p a pack when you also have the Nurofen version or the higher end version. Anyway, the point about the patent is, unfortunately, there's a few countries, including us, obviously, the US, Australia, but not just Murdoch countries. We've got Germany, I don't know about France, and a few other countries in Europe are refusing to allow this patent to be made available. So what that means is that these poorer nations cannot afford the kind of vaccines they need. Now, I don't know about you, Mike, but this seems incredibly short-sighted because people are going to want to travel eventually. And these people will continue to spread coronavirus wherever they go. Like, we have to vaccinate everyone. That's like the point in a pandemic.
You know, fuck people might want to travel. How can you say to a country, any country, not only are we not going to support you in any way we can to vaccinate your people, but we're not actually going to let you help yourself either.
Well, it's ridiculous. So
I don't understand how that's allowed.
Well, my understanding, Mike, is it's big pharma. It is to protect big pharma's profits. Effectively,
I get big pharma, and I get what they're about, and you know, we all do.
I think these countries seem to be in their pocket. That's all I can think of. Basically, for anyone who's unaware of the basics of this, what this means is that India has to buy at full price, which is cheaper. You know, the vaccines have been made cheaper, but that will still be significantly expensive for a country with as many people as India has. So they have to buy at cost price these vaccines. Now, the reason the patent agreement is so crucial is because what it means is that if India were to manufacture their own version of the vaccine based on the same formula, they could be sued by the companies that originally patented it. But, so here's the thing, Mike, and I want to float it past you to see how likely it is. I was reading an article on this earlier today, and somebody in the comments section made a brilliant suggestion. They said, I've got an idea. Why doesn't India just patent their own vaccine? See what happens. And I thought, that's a really good idea. So if India manufactures this vaccine based on the AstraZeneca, whichever version it is, to vaccinate their people, who's going to have the gall to sue them? Realistically. I mean, I know Big Pharma are powerful. They've obviously got those countries in their pocket. Are those countries really going to go to the lengths of suing a country that is in the worst grip of the pandemic for manufacturing a vaccine?
I can't. I think that
brinkmanship, isn't it?
They make an interesting point. And I don't know. I think you're right. I think who could do that?
I don't think the global community would stand for it. If you think about, because bear in mind, the only countries supporting this patent restriction are very rich countries, but there's only about 8 to 10 of them. The rest of the world could turn around and unilaterally and as one voice. I know obviously it's opposing huge powers like the US and Germany, but they could turn around and say, no, we're not having this. We're not going to let you sue India for saving its people. I think it's worth a shout. I think India should try manufacturing their own vaccine based on the existing. Just copy their vaccine. Just do it. Do what it takes, and then worry about the consequences afterwards. Bear in mind that a lot of these countries are probably going to want trade deals with India. Use that as leverage. Make the vaccine, and then if anything legal thing happens afterwards, you just say, okay, no additional market access for any of you.
It's a tricky one, right? 'Cause you look at India, huge. I mean, it's a big country, size-wise. I think people don't realize how big it is.
It is very big.
Population-wise, it's fucking almost off the scale. For that reason, population density hasn't helped things. I think, although it is big, its population is next level. A lot of these type. You're right. A lot of these type of companies, could or probably do already a lot of business with India.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that many people in your country without having to. Do you know what I mean? Like you're turning your back on potentially if people were to, forget the vaccine for a second. But if India was to say, well, no, fuck you and all your products, fuck you and all of whatever else. And it may be short-sighted of them to do so, but hypothetically, if they did, these companies, they'd be turning their back on a big proportion of the world's population.
Yeah, the fastest growing economy, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, is that wise? I think there needs to be a bit of bluff calling going on, and I think, it shouldn't be. Maybe it should be a case. It might come down to who's got the biggest balls, but it shouldn't do. It shouldn't do. What should happen is the countries in a position to do so should say, what can we do to help? What rules can we bend or break if needs be to tackle the global pandemic? It's not an India problem. And I get it. These, there has to be, where do you draw the line then? If you say, this time, fuck patents, they don't matter. Where do you draw the line? And the next level down might happen in 10 years on a slightly smaller scale, and then you go, well, hang on a minute, why? And I get it, I do get it. These things are there for a reason. That the integrity of these types of things does need to be preserved or protected because of the way things are, whether we like it or not. I get that, but we are talking about a global pandemic. Like we said for Bojo, if you're ever gonna allow him to break, bend, whatever rules and skirt around what's allowed or right, it's in the midst of a global pandemic, and you make that exception for him.
That's a very, very good point, Mike. Well done for that. That's really good linking those two together, because it is hypocrisy. If you just quickly to read from this article, bear in mind this was back from November, so this was being discussed in November. India and South Africa have proposed that WTO member states be allowed to waive patents and other intellectual property rights on any treatment and tools related to COVID until the end of the pandemic, including for the vaccines that are expected to be approved from November. So there were talks. Those opposing the move included the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, and the EU. If the waiver were adopted, it would basically allow them to produce their own vaccines, etc. Now, advocacy groups in support of this says this is something that needs to be understood. Pharmaceutical companies have received unprecedented taxpayer funding, including $2.5 say it in pounds, including just under $2 billion to Pfizer BioNTech, $2.48 billion to Moderna, and $1.7 billion to AstraZeneca Oxford University, according to MSF, Médecins Sans Frontières. Yet retain full control over who receives the vaccine, when, and over the prices and quantities. It's a really fucking good point. Again, this is why Big Pharma is such a problem, because they will not acknowledge the amount of our money, taxpayer money, that flows into their pockets. And they won't, I mean, it's bad enough how they, in America, they charge ridiculous prices for insulin and stuff. That means that people actually die. So they already deliberately kill people. And we know that they led to, I can't remember exactly which company, but deliberately created and fermented the opioid crisis so they could increase their profits. So these companies are completely asocial and sociopathic. They do not listen to reason, and they are only trying to protect their bottom line. And our bottom line is we gave them unprecedented levels of taxpayer funding. They would not have been able to develop these things without us. And now the taxpayer should say, and by the way, to any racists out there who say, oh, fucking Indians should take care of themselves, I'll say again, this comes back to us. Everyone in the world, or 90% of the population, needs to be vaccinated, or this could come back in a worse form to us in the future. It's just protecting everyone. It's like such a simple concept.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that there needs to be, like I said, I get the need for patents. I understand that not only the need for these companies to make money, because they do need to make money as well, and it's in our interests to a degree that they do. And I get the whole cycle of how it works, and albeit on a basic level, but I do, and it's I just think, if you don't throw the rule book out the fucking window for a global pandemic, how incredibly short-sighted are you?
Well, this is it.
I think when you get to the fair enough, okay. No, actually, no. Fuck fair enough. It's one thing. Look, I'll use the example that you used. It's one thing charging through the roof for insulin that people need in order to live to the point where they actually die. It's another thing saying to a country, especially a country the size of India, but actually any country, nope, you can't do what it takes to keep your people safe and to stop them dying. We're not going to allow that. Why? Sorry, hang on. What? I have to let my population die? Why is that? Yeah, see, we got this patent. So either pay up or they've all got to die. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck your patent. Shove it up your ass. Global pandemic. This will, me saving the lives of my people now, will in turn have a positive effect on everyone, including yourselves, going forward. How do you not see that? Yeah. I get why they need to preserve the integrity of these things. I do.
Yeah, no.
I've said,
the principle of patents, and intellectual property are hugely important. I would make the argument I don't think they're that important in Big Pharma, because Big Pharma gets so much taxpayer funding. So to me, there's more flexibility there anyway, in the basis that they'll argue, oh, we pay a lot for research and development. Yeah, but for this particularly, you receive far more than you were entitled to taxpayer funding, because we needed everyone vaccinated.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Yeah. But bottom line is, you let any fucking country do whatever they need to do to save their people and to vaccinate their people. And I mean, whether it's India or anyone else, you let them do what they need to fucking do, and good luck to you if you want to try and fucking sue them or whatever. Because I hope, not only do I hope that these countries like India will do whatever they need to do, which obviously India is the big one at the moment, and fuck the rest, and I know that's easy for me to say, but I hope they'll do what they need to do.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Fuck the repercussions.
Yes.
But I also hope that if there are repercussions, that that anyone that would try and take action against them for doing that receive a backlash like nothing we've ever seen before.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think it's interesting, isn't it, that this pandemic has shown up what you could argue it's shown the best and the worst of human nature, like in the spotlight, the full spotlight. On one side we've got Captain Tom, we've got NHS staff, we've got volunteers who are vaccinating and looking after people and just generally sacrificing to make sure we get through this. On the other side, you've got Dominic Cummings, Boris Johnson filling their pockets. You've got Big Pharma refusing patents for poorer countries. You've got anti-mask dickheads. So it's really it's the best and worst of humanity, you could argue, in the spotlight during, a pandemic. That's when you see people's true colours. It's argued, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you have an emergency, you see everyone's true colours in a crisis. And it's been very true. That's a really good spot to end it on, actually. Yeah. You see everyone's true colours in a crisis.
I see your true colours.
You see Mike's true colours if you go on a night out with him. But that's all we got to talk about this week. So basically, some serious chickens have come home to roost with Boris Johnson. And by the way, this is going to be rumbling on and on for a while yet, because I reckon Dominic Cummings has got some serious shit still in his locker against the Fatberg. So we will see how that plays out. Mike, anything to add before we depart for this evening?
No, just thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope you had a good time. If you did, and even if you didn't, to be honest, fucking like, subscribe.
Spread us like COVID.
Spread us like COVID. I was going to make an India-related joke, but given what we just spoke about, I think that would be no, even for me. So do spread the word. Spread the word. Share the love. Share it around. Talk to us. Tell us what you thought. If you think, like I say, you think there's something that we've missed a trick. We haven't looked at something you've got a different angle that we should have looked at something at, by all means tell us and we'll explore it. We're open-minded enough to do that. If you think there's something that we're missing, how have you not spoken about this? Tell us, and and we'll do it.
Yeah, we're a listening platform. We spark debate and we let debate come back at us. So
basically, we just love a masturbate.
We all love a good masturbate. And on that note, have a pleasant evening, people, or day if you're watching this in the morning, whatever. And we will grow you next time. Stay safe.